Okay. So how this all got started, Mark, was well, the Course in Miracles is a channeled work. It was written by a woman by the name of, what was her name? Anyways, Helen. And she was a very high-level psychiatrist who was working in a hospital with a man by the name of Bill Thetford, who was her supervisor or her direct report, or she reported directly to him. And they made a pact during a particular contentious meeting there at the hospital, and they vowed to each other they would find a better way. And about a month later, Helen showed up in Bill's office and said, "Bill, I think I need psychiatric care. I haven't been sleeping. I've been staying up all night doing automatic writing." She said, she was a Jewish atheist, right? So she says, "I don't even believe what I'm writing, but I can't stop the writing. So I'm just writing." And so Bill read it, the pages that she had written thus far. And he just said, you have to finish this. So around in the first parts of the course, we haven't come to it yet, but there's a section that says, "I have come to clarify the meaning of my teachings, and I'm the Christ." So the whole Course in Miracles, it's about that thick and about 10-point font. On his daily lessons. When you read it, you realize that it could not be written, there it is, by anyone with an ego. There's no personal agenda. No one claims authorship. Bill and Helen refused to claim authorship of it because it was a complete gift and a complete channeled work. And when I first read it, I thought, this is exactly what Jesus would have been like and what he would have sounded like. Especially when he talks about the crucifixion, the real meaning of the crucifixion and the real meaning of the resurrection. It's very, very, very powerful. So when AIDS first started, I pulled together a couple other people that knew the course, and we started teaching A Course in Miracles to people who were diagnosed and would be a skeleton in 3 months, to try to give them some spiritual support and spiritual hope. And so that's how I got involved within the Course in Miracles. And then I think I introduced it to some of my people in Australia that we were training with. And I think I actually did a spiritual kind of training called something. I called it something like the Awakening or something. And we read the Course in Miracles, and we did some processes out of the Course in Miracles. And so V approached me with teaching this again because she thought it was important. So all this is blamed on V, and so we all come here once a week and we do this. And sometimes there's more people, sometimes there's less people.
I assume that we've all read they've read the book, or you?
We're all currently reading the book now.
Okay.
So you're coming in at a good spot.
I'm very, very excited and very thankful to be able to participate. Thank you.
Well, we're happy that you're here. Yeah. So V, you want us to do a screen share? We'll just begin.
Now, I'll initially share the Kindle version, but it goes on to another page. However, it's a very big section. We're doing T111.3, so we're starting at this one.
You want to give us numbers, V, too?
Yeah, but so we just read one sentence at a time then each?
Because we actually could, because that's what we eventually end up doing anyways, right?
Yeah, and it's a really big section, this one. So Linda can be number 1. She can read the first sentence and we'll dissect that. And then Mark, you can be number 2 after that. And then Coralie, and Gary, and then me.
Okay.
So are we starting it in this phase of learning, or just at all?
At all.
Or should be reserved for revelation, to which it is perfectly and correctly applicable. It is not inappropriate for miracles, because a state of awe is worshipful. implying that one, oh, sorry, I went on to a second sentence.
That's okay, just finish it.
Implying that one of a lesser order stands before his creator.
Okay, so let's stop there because this is an interesting sentence. So the course always is written in, it says fundamentally the same thing repeatedly over and over and over again, but it says it in different word combinations because it helps unravel the ego and the mind of as many people as possible, and everybody interprets things a little differently. So when they go, awe should be reserved for revelation. In the previous chapter, let me just explain the conclusions we came to from the last meeting. Revelation is when you have a direct connection and inspiration from God. When you feel one with the Creator, that is revelation. And the closest place I think, that we can get to that is really when we look at what the Course calls a miracle, which is when we look into the eyes of another and we stop seeing the personality, we start seeing the light of God that is animating them. So rather than that provides us with the opportunity to stop judging, to stop condemning, and to really sort on the essence that is animating that life, which is the other person. So a miracle is when a person can actually see the light of God in another. The revelation is through accumulating those experiences of feeling like you are actually able to see the light of God in everything. That becomes a revelation. So it says, awe should be reserved for revelation, to which it is perfectly and correctly applicable. So I don't think we have to explain more about that other than when you're feeling one with God, you generally are in awe. It is not appropriate for miracles because a state of awe is worshipful, implying that that one of a lesser order stands before his Creator. So there was a big distinction in the previous section, number 2, about miracles versus revelation. And it says it's not appropriate for miracles because a state of awe is worshipful, implying that one of a lesser order stands before his Creator. So in the definition of miracles is I'm at one with another person, seeing the light of God in that person, and that's all I'm choosing to see. The awe aspect, or the revelation aspect, is when you feel the full impact of the presence of God with you singularly. I hope I didn't make that more confusing. Are we somewhat clear?
Yeah,
Mhm.
that helps me. I can see that like the miracle is when you feel one with another, and the revelation is when you recognize something greater than yourself.
And greater than another, like,
Greater than
And-
any single, yeah.
yeah.
I'll
I'll
yeah.
just
make
point
sure I
out,
understand. I'm so sorry. I would just say I want to understand this about the revelation, though, and because I do feel strongly that I get revelations through others. Through
That's what
others.
they're calling, yeah, that's what they're calling the miracles, though.
Ah, okay.
Okay.
can I just point out for Mark's sake as well, that these are recorded and you can look back at them. And I think last week's was pretty powerful. So, and since
Really?
we're referring back
Oh,
to it as well, so you can have a look
thank
at
you.
that. I can send you the
Thank
link
you.
to that.
Can you send like Linda and Mark the recordings from last week, because that was
yeah.
a really, that I got like so much out of that.
Yeah,
Please.
I actually
Oh,
have
did.
a little message stream on Facebook where I put the recordings as well. So if you
Oh,
want to get it and want to see any of that, just
Yeah.
I'll make sure you've got my
Thank-
email address. Get in
Okay,
touch.
thank you. Yeah, thank you so much. That would be awesome.
And Mark, I think you're up next for the sentence, "You are a perfect creation."
You are a perfect creation. and should experience awe only in the presence of the creator of perfection.
Okay, you are a perfect creation and should experience awe only in the presence of the creator of perfection. Huh. I love that. Do we need to break that down? Does everybody get that?
I would like, if you don't mind, I would like to, Gary, because we are perfect creations. Oftentimes we don't feel perfect, but we are perfect creations, should experience awe, yes, only in the presence of our creator of perfection.
Right.
And you certainly would certainly have that. I've read, interesting that you only could, they say only feel awe in
Right.
the presence of the creator. And maybe, but don't we feel in awe of the things that he might create, the sunrise, the Grand Canyon?
Well, that may be the moment that you are really experiencing the presence of God at those moments.
Okay, I see. Okay, I gotcha.
So, yeah, I love that one statement. You are a perfect creation. And let me just explain that a bit, Mark, because that's what always like tweaks people a little bit, because so much of Christianity is based on the idea of sin, the idea of retribution, the idea of guilt, and the idea of a judgmental God. And the Course in Miracles doesn't believe in sin. The Latin and the Latin translation of sin means to miss the mark, not being condemned forever, but to miss the mark. And fundamentally, the Course says that anything unlike love within us is an illusion and a dream. Doesn't mean that we repeat the same behaviors that bring about those particular ramifications or ill effects, but it does mean that God is not a judgmental God. And as we go forward, you'll kind of get more of that. That it is literally Christ's original teachings are really the opposite of what's being taught today.
Wow.
Okay. The miracle is therefore a sign of love among equals. And that's, seeing the light of God in another person. The miracle is therefore a sign of love among equals. I don't think we have to break that down. Carly?
Equals should not be in awe of one another, because awe implies inequality.
Oh, I see where they're going. That doesn't, I think the way that they're translating awe is like awe of the entire creation. But I think here we're just recognizing, and it says equals should not be in awe of one another, because awe implies inequality, meaning the creator and the created, us. So awe is really reserved for that relationship only. V?
Yeah, I think also with the perfect creation, and we don't recognize ourselves as perfect, I think that's a lot of what the daily lessons works on as well, is to help us to kind of clear that.
Can you recall some of the lessons that are instilling that in the day? Because Mark, there's on the back of the Course in Miracles, there are literally daily meditations for 365 days of the year.
Awesome.
Is there any specific ones, V, that you can remember?
Well, a lot of them kind of speak to remembering that we are from God, and that therefore we are perfect. I guess that kind of summarizes a lot of the lessons. Jane's joining us. Hold on a minute. 20 minutes late, but here she is.
Hey, Jane.
Hi, Jane.
Hi there, everybody. Sorry I'm late.
That's okay.
You're here.
No worries.
Where are we up to? An elder brother is entitled to respect for his greater experience and obedience for his greater wisdom.
Elder brothers attached respect, first greater experience of obedience, first greater wisdom. Okay. These are pretty clear. They're not all convoluted.
No, it started a bit high, but then it's breaking it down last week.
Right.
think
Jane, you
yours
want to
is
read the next sentence? We're kind of going through it sentence by sentence now, since we eventually do that anyways.
Okay, as
He is
so we just
also
got finished
entitled-
reading. He's
What?
also entitled.
Yeah.
He's also entitled to love because, sorry, my computer, who's that Lady Linda to everybody? Oh, okay. Is there a Lady Linda that was supposed to be on the call here?
No, she's already on. So just go ahead and
Alright.
read, Jane.
Oh, okay. He
He's
is also entitled to love because he is a brother, and to devotion if he is devoted. Why does that sound so questionable?
Mm.
Because we don't, I guess, do we?
Repeat that, B.
Well, we don't love our brother as much as we should, as much as we can. And to devotion if he's devoted.
It's interesting that there's a condition on it, though.
Yes.
It sounds it, but what will happen is it'll clear itself up later. So let's just keep reading.
I might read the next one because it goes over the next page and it's
Yep,
always easier
yeah.
if I do that.
Go for it.
It is only my devotion that entitles me to yours.
Huh.
Devotion.
Can you reread that? It is only
My devotion that entitles me to yours. It is only my devotion that entitles me to yours.
well, I'll tell
Only
you
my
how I'm kind of reading that is that if I go into that space of creating a miracle and seeing the light of God in you, it inspires you to see that in me.
Yeah.
That's how I'm kind of taking it, because I know that I've been in the presence of I'm thinking of this one woman here in the place I live, and we went on this hike, her and I, because she wanted to show me some of the trails and stuff. And I've shared this before, but she brought a little bag of nuts and seeds and stuff, and she would, in the Native American way, she would walk through the forest and leave little handfuls of nuts. They're called spirit plates for all the animals and stuff, all the little chipmunks and squirrels and rabbits and all of that. And it was so sweet. And I just felt like it was such grace to be in her presence as she did this in a very devoted way. And it inspired me to begin to do that as well. So when I go into the woods, I take bags of seeds and nuts and I leave spirit plates throughout my walk. And I think, it is really a necessary thing. And so when I experienced her that way, her and I communicate very rarely, but when we do, it's always like, I'm doing prayers for you. I'm wishing you a wonderful day. We do that kind of thing. And, she's married to our gardener, and we just become the sort of spiritual friends. And so I kind of get that when we connect at that level, it is devotion that we both share with one another. Linda, are you there? She may be. Okay. Mark, you want to read? There's nothing.
There's nothing about me that you cannot attain. I have nothing that does not come from God. The difference between us now is that I have nothing else. Oh, Do I supposed to finish
Finish it
that?
up. Finish it up, Mark.
This leaves me in a state which is only potential for you.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay. There's nothing about me that you cannot attain. So there's no ego. There's just, we all have equality. I have nothing that does not come from God. The difference between us now is that I have nothing else. This leaves me in a state which is only potential in you. Would anyone like to comment on that?
I don't get it.
I was in a bit of an expectation of it coming to how we cannot see in others what we don't already have in ourselves. So we only see what's within ourselves. But this is kind of going at another level that I'm struggling with as well.
The difference between us now is that I have nothing else, meaning that there's nothing, I have nothing that does not come from God. So the difference between us now is that I have nothing else, so that they surrender, or they acknowledge that everything they are or have is given by God. And so if they have any level of abundance or spiritual evolution or whatever it is all come from the grace of God and nothing else, nothing from their efforts, nothing from their ego, nothing that would enhance that. And then it just says, this leaves me in a state which is only potential for you, which means that if I'm in this state of knowing that everything given unto me is given by God, any spiritual awakening I have is the grace of God, then that leaves another person in a state to know that it is potential always to be able to get to that state of oneness with the divine.
As I read it, contemplated it, it was making me feel hopeful and happy.
Yeah.
Because it's taking away something, I guess, from me. If I focus on that, it takes away negative thoughts, I guess, and just makes me happy because it gives you hope for everything, honestly.
One of the things that I think we may be needing to look at is, remember this, whenever the Course says, I have nothing else, this leaves me, it's the Christ speaking.
Oh.
So the difference between us now, meaning the Christ consciousness and me, is that I have nothing else but God. This leaves me in a state which is only potential for you.
Yeah.
So
right.
if we desire to attain that level of Christ consciousness, then it is about, there's nothing that is mine. It is all given by God. And there's nothing else for me.
That helps a lot. Thank you.
Yeah. Jane and Linda, do you have anything you want to share or say? You're both sitting there very quiet. So you good? Okay, sweet. Who goes next, V?
Well, shall we, Coralie?
Sure. No man cometh unto the Father but by me. Does not mean that I am,
Keep going.
that I am in any way separate or different from you, except in time, and time does not really exist.
That's very beautiful. So, who'd like to take a crack at that?
Well, with you saying Christ consciousness before being the I, that makes more sense, and that makes more sense to this, which is just flowing on from the previous sentence, really, and that coming back to time does not really exist. I love that.
The next line is very interesting. The statement is more meaningful in terms of a vertical rather than a horizontal axis. So that just like kind of fries my brain cells a little bit. So let's see if we can, let's read the next line because maybe it'll give us more clarity. Carolee, you want to go the next line? You stand.
You stand below me, and I stand below God. In the process of rising up, I am higher because without me, the distance between God and man would be too great for you to encompass.
Great.
Mhm.
So
Wow.
this is really, really powerful. And I have to speak to this a little bit because when I studied in India, I'm still practicing that form of yogic meditation. The master would say to us that, and this is from a line of Sikh masters, but the master would always lecture from the Bible, and he would say, there are high enlightened souls that come. There's at least one on the planet at a time. And the reason that that high enlightened soul comes is not for any other purpose, but to shorten the distance between mankind and the divine. And the whole premise is that if we're attempting to elevate ourselves to the highest level of consciousness, well, in my experience, I can only speak for me, it cannot be done because of the intensity. I'm going to have to go way out and talk about all this convoluted stuff, but I'm going to go ahead and do it. In these traditions, there are 7 different levels of consciousness in creation, all reflecting there's 5, all reflecting the 5 various chakras. So the base chakra is the physical realm. The Dantian or the energy center in the body is sort of the astral realms. Then there's another level of higher and less dense astral realm here in the heart. This goes to another level where there's less matter, more spirituality here in the throat center. And this is the highest level, the spiritual center of the body. Now, and it reflects the universe. This is why the masters would always say, that man is made in the image and likeness of God, because our bodies are like the different levels of creation or different heavens of creation. And we are the microcosm of the macrocosm. Probably more information anybody needs to know, but that's the premise of some of the teachings. And they always say that when a soul rises up, it gets trapped in the lower heavens because it is so beautiful, so incredibly seductive to stay there, because the beauty is so intense and the love is so much greater than the physical realms. People get stuck there because they believe, oh, this is the highest heaven, but it's not. There's other more subtle realms above that. So the master would say, when an enlightened soul takes one of their disciples into the inner realms, it's almost like taking them up in an elevator, so they see none of that. They go right to the highest realm where it's just pure spirit. Now, if that's all the case, I can understand this because it is a vertical ascension, not a horizontal kind of probe or exploration. It's a vertical ascension into the inner realms. And if you don't have an enlightened soul that leads the way, and what this is fundamentally saying, when you surrender over to the spiritual aspects of the Christ consciousness, you begin to start rising up vertically. And it says, you stand below me in the awareness of God, and I stand below God. In the process of rising up, I am higher because without me, the distance between God and man would be too great for you to encompass. There's a goddess, I can't remember the name of the goddess, in the Hindu faith, where she has like 1,000 arms. I have a Tibetan Tara of her in my home. And people, I remember one of my Christian friends came over and says, why do you have images of these demons. And I'm like,
Yeah. Oh, jeez.
I said, this is the goddess that had such compassion that when she came to earth, she grew 1,000 arms so that she could lift up the suffering souls, as many as possible. And that is the depiction, metaphorically, of who she was. And they were like, oh, okay. And throughout every faith, throughout every generation, there is always enlightened souls that come and lift up those that are struggling. And they do it with this deep, profound connection to God, and know that it is not them that's doing it, it is God through them that's doing it.
Mhm. Allowing it. Can I mention one thing about how that affected me is that it gives me it sounds to me like the purpose and reason for Christ to exist, to have come down and to been with us. He's given us the reason. And I had never thought of it that way before.
Yeah.
Him closing the gap. It's very confusing to me. Do I pray to Jesus? Do I pray to God? They're the same in the Holy Trinity and everything. So I don't even know when I'm praying. I think I'm praying directly to God, and I don't. So it's all confusing to me. But this is a nice explanation for me.
Yeah.
And it's very instead of I guess the assumption he came here just to forgive our sins from all from that history, and God, from every sin that occurred and sins that it will occur, so long as we're I think that's interesting.
That always throws the mind and throws human beings into this place of, you're bad, you'll always do things wrong, and this is your only way out, and Christ is here to save you. And the truth of it is, Jesus wants us to practice. If we want to, because your faith has been Catholicism, Mark, which is, beautiful, and everyone's honored in whatever way that they approach how they see God for them.
Mhm.
And, so it is about us looking at it from a point of view of that enlightened souls come, and they literally will pull together a variety of different souls, generally in that lifetime that they're on the planet. Christianity has made it like a forever thing. I'm not 100% sure that that's true, but in the Course, because the Course is really speaking about this as Christ is here with us now, I believe that it's probably more true than not. And so those of you who have that Christian faith, and that is your road, then that is, I always think this, Mark, because I want to go back to the thing that you said, that the difference between Christ and God and the Holy Spirit and all that, it's all kind of one. It's all this one thing that is split off into a variety of 3 different areas in order to bring inspiration. But the essence of it is still pray to God.
Yes. Yeah.
At least that's what I make up, which may or may not be true, but that's what I make up.
Gary, but remember you talked to me the other day about a sin. I mean, he doesn't believe in sin, and I have had these same feelings in about sin when I'm growing my faith. Being taught by the Jesuits, which are Catholic, is they're out there, and they've been excommunicated many times, but they're very open. And the universal church, they're not of the type that you have to do this to get into heaven. You're there. And then the sin, I've also been that way, but I wanted to, and so I wanted to mention the guy's name. I just bought a book and I began to read. I mentioned to you, Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Life by Wayne Dyer. Yeah. And this subject that we're discussing today is so similar to Wayne's beliefs, the initial 10% that I've gotten from him in this book. I just think it's interesting, the timing of you asking me to be here and me beginning an interest in this. Wayne, the author back in the 70s, is
it's super important.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, super important. Okay, does anyone have anything else that they want to share about this? Jane?
Yeah, and yes, and just about Wayne Dyer, I mean, he was forever quoting the Course in Miracles.
He was?
Forever.
Oh,
Oh yeah. Yes, forever.
Because it sounds so similar to his.
And the Bhagavad Gita
Yeah. Bhagavad
as
Gita.
well.
Oh,
Yeah.
But that's the
And
guy
some
that
from the
also
Dhamma-
mentioned.
and some from the Dhammapada as well, from the teachings of Buddha.
Yeah.
There's this golden thread that runs through all of them, you guys. And
Yeah.
it is super important to honor all faiths. So let's keep
Absolutely.
going. Who's
Actually,
next?
can I just say, Gary, that I also
Yeah,
found that reading that was really powerful and helpful, because it allows me to realize that if I'm meditating and I don't quite get to the point that I know I can, that I can just understand that that's the level I'm at today. It's just a spiral staircase. It's not an all or nothing. It's levels.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. Remember, guys, when I this is one of the things I think is my big takeaway from this so far, is that it's fundamentally saying that God, all of our spiritual practices, it is really from the grace of God that we even feel inclined to pray and inclined to read and study. I got to this point in India where I was like, I would be like, thank you, Master, for giving me the desire to even meditate. Because, any kind of spiritual progress I will ever make. And yes, it'll come through, me noticing and choosing to focus on that light of God in all things, but that isn't the kind of ascension that I think is real true spiritual progress. I think that we just get grace showered upon us at moments in time that wake us up in a holy instant. And it isn't anything we've done. It's not something that we've earned. It's something that is simply given by our longing for God. This is why I think the longing piece of this, the desire to experience that ecstasy or that awe of seeing God in action for me. But when we're able to just think that is the only thing I really desire, then I think that we get grace shown upon us that gives us more of that, to keep that little tiny flame alive inside of us. If any of you have ever read any of the poetry of is that guy? Boy, his name just went right out of my head. I'll think about it. But it is, there's some beautiful Arabic poems that were written, and they're so utterly devotional that they inspire you to just love God like no one else.
Is that the book
I
of
remember,
Medad, Gary?
no, it's not the Book of Medad.
Is it
I'm
Habis?
trying to think of his name. Say again?
Habis?
No.
Rumi?
Rumi. There it is.
You just keep
Rumi.
rattling off names.
I knew if you rattled them off, I finally would land on it. But Rumi wrote these beautiful poems about the devotion to God, and I am firmly convinced that for me, anyways, as much as I do my best to meditate, well, I do meditate every day, but much as I do my best to focus the mind and like go inside and do all those things in my meditation, I absolutely unequivocally know that when I long for God enough and I demonstrate my ability to create more miracles and judgment in my day-to-day life, that I get little pieces of grace that's given to me then. And it's not out of reward or anything like that. It's just that that's where my mind is focused. And when my heart longs to see the face of the beloved, then I believe that grace can be shown to me. Now, that's just my own little interpretation of it. For me, I've given up thinking that I'm going to meditate and be such a great meditator that I'm going to see the light and I'm going to ascend into the inner realms and everything's going to be incredible. I don't think it's earned. I think it's totally given. Like we're just given the grace. That's my belief system.
Don't you think it's up to us to remove the obstacles so that grace it can flow to us?
Yeah.
I think it's that simple. I mean, not that it's simple to do, but
No, I think that it is our duty, especially if we have learned the tools to remove the obstacles. Because I've given this metaphor before. I think, we're like a glass of milk, whole milk. If someone is stirring the milk, the cream that's inherent inside the milk can never rise and coagulate at the surface. I mean, the richness of the milk can never be realized. Same thing with human beings. If our mind is constantly twirling because we're butting up against the obstacles of our judgment, our fear, our anger, all of those things that can actually really derail someone, if that's what we're living in and that's what we're focusing upon, that's like putting our milk in a blender. We'll never be able to realize the love that we are. So you're absolutely right, Jane, to kind of still the story so the love we are can naturally come to the surface, I think is our part of that. And I think that's part of the devotional quest, is to heal ourselves enough to still the milk and let the love we are be the thing that people see. And there we create the miracles. There we're able to actually demonstrate that state of being that we create more miracles. That then creates a revelation where we have more of a direct connection with God. But I still think it's all grace for any of us to even want to clean up our stuff, it's like, I still think it's grace. Who's next to read? Carly, you look like I don't know is Linda, you there? There she is. Where do we leave off?
Remind me again. Yeah.
So after Incantas, I bridge the distance.
I bridge the distance as an elder brother to you on the one hand, and as a son of God on the other.
Keep reading, Linda.
My devotion to my brothers has placed me in charge of the sonship, which I render complete because I share it.
Oh, I love that. That's like hot chocolate by a fire on a snowy day. Would anyone like to break that down or give your interpretation of that?
Everyone's pondering.
Well, I'll give it a go. Later on in the course, Christ does not delineate. He fundamentally says we are all the essence of Christ, capable of being the one that holds that ultimate state of devotion to God. I bridge the distance as an elder brother. He never says, as the savior of all mankind, as an elder brother to you on the one hand, and as a son of God on the other, as a son of God, not the son of God, but as a son of God, which means that ultimately the course gets to we are all sons of God. When traditional Christianity has elevated Jesus to this exalted state, because of course it was, I'm not going to go there, because of that's what they did, then what happens is we're here, no capacity to be here, and this is the only kind of thing that we can possibly do. We're always sinning. We're always doing it wrong. And what I know if the Course eventually gets to is that we are capable of being and recognizing through the practice of creating miracles and moments of revelation that we can begin to experience God everywhere.
I'm coming
Well,
back to the sentence that's at the top there, and there is nothing about me that you cannot attain.
Yep. Where do you see that? I'm sorry.
That's at the top of the page. There is nothing about me that you cannot attain.
Yeah. Yeah. I have nothing that does not come from God. The difference between us now is that I have nothing else. See, we think we have got other things, but when you only think you have God, that's when you have a state of Christ consciousness. When every other attachment fades away, that's when you've got Christ consciousness. So are we kind of starting to get this?
Yeah.
This is a really powerful one.
Mm.
The second line down there says, my devotion to my brothers has placed me, and this means brothers and sisters. So it's a little, it's a little heavy on misogyny here. But when it says, my devotion to my brothers has placed me in charge of the sonship, which I render complete because I share it. Does everyone give a go at that?
I guess we're his brothers.
Yep. All of us. This is about a soul that sees the suffering and desires to help awaken as many of us as possible.
Trying to understand what the meaning of the render complete. I render
Well,
which render
yeah.
complete.
My devotion to my brothers has placed me in charge of the sonship, which I render complete because I share it, meaning that well, this is how I'm interpreting it. To render complete means that we're already whole because we're hearing this, we're studying it, we're practicing it. It is then because we're seeking and practicing, he renders the sonship complete because people are starting to wake up. That's how I'm reading it. Does anyone have a different read on that?
I think it's like a form of surrender too. Being that render is to give up, to give in, to
Oh,
and
give up
surrender
ownership.
is
Yeah.
yes, exactly.
That would make sense because I surrender. It's render complete because I share it. Carolee, I hear your gears grinding over there in New Zealand.
Yeah. Oh, I was just trying to reconcile my own judgments really on like being the oldest brother or elder brother. I was like, then I just think of all the people who are the oldest sibling that go, oh, I had to do everything because I was the oldest, and I'm like, cry me a river. But and so I make this sort of judgment on that being the oldest sort of thing. So I'm just, pondering that for myself and trying to make myself not have that judgment really.
Yeah, because we are interpreting it, through the lens, of course, our cultures and what it's been like in our family groups and all of that, which is, in my belief, it's just this is so far kind of above, that, but
Yeah.
Yeah. Shall we go on? Does anyone else have anything they want to share?
I'll do the next
Okay.
bit because it's going over the page again.
Yeah.
This may appear to contradict the statement, I and my Father are one, but there are two parts to the statement in recognition that the Father is greater.
Okay, now we have to read the rest of it. I'm going to go ahead and read. Revelations are indirectly inspired by me because I am close to the Holy Spirit and alert to the revelation readiness of my
Wow.
brothers.
Hmm.
I can thus bring down to them more than they can draw down to themselves. The Holy Spirit mediates higher to lower communication, keeping the direct channel from God to you open for revelation. Revelation is not reciprocal. It proceeds from God to you, but not from you to God. Well, isn't that just a very simple statement to me? We are almost out of time, and I cannot even wrap my head around this yet. Does anyone else have anything they want to share about this? Because I'll have to exit if you guys want to keep talking, because I've got a client in another 10 minutes. But does
Can I
anyone
just say
have
something
anything they want
about
to
the
say?
revelation? Sorry, the revelation is not reciprocal to God, but I can see this is all very inspiring to me too. The revelation comes to me if I'm deemed, if he sees that I'm ready for that particular revelation is what I get out of that. And
Yeah.
and he's perfect. So when he decides that that revelation can be brought to us, then we will clearly be able to receive it, I think, because he's determined that anyway. But I was thinking that the revelations aren't going to be just for us. I would suppose, or I like your comment, they are for us and those we come in contact with, the other souls we come in contact with, so that we can multiply that revelation from us to his other souls, and that's how we get revelations too. Or is that wrong?
I think
maybe
that's a good input on
I
the
can be a
statement.
tool.
Yeah.
I can be
yeah.
the vessel for the revelation, perhaps. I feel that from others in my life.
Yeah, so this right here is, we're starting to get into some of the coursework that because I could feel it on the call. It's different than the other paragraphs that we've delved into before. Would you guys agree?
Absolutely. I think
Yeah,
we should start with this one next week.
I definitely want to start with this
Yeah.
one next week, and I want to be thinking about it. The thing that I do want to say is that this always is meant to unravel the ego, always. That's the whole purpose of the Course in Miracles. And we can only, especially, for me, I can only read it and attempt to clarify it based upon my understanding at this moment in time, which isn't going to always be accurate. So this is why it's good to have a variety of people on and to be reading it and talking truthfully about how they're interpreting it. So I'm going to thank you and acknowledge you and validate you, Carolee, for sharing what you shared about the elder brother, because that's the only way we kind of move through it. All of us are about being able to remove our obstacles and our filters so we can really receive what the Course is attempting to teach us. And there may come a point where we read a paragraph or we read a little thing like this and go, okay, none of us get that. Let's just move on, and maybe it'll become clear in the following ones, which I'm really happy to do too. But this one is a particularly interesting one, and I'll have to read it a couple times before I can wrap my head around it. But it's 8 o'clock straight up. So V, can you remember that this is where we're stopping?
Yes.
Number 5. Okay, cool.
Yep.
So let's close our our course group with a word or a sentence that you would like to leave from something that you got out of tonight. So V, would you like to start?
Miracles are all around. I'm open to receive.
Great. Jane?
Because I surrender, I can render.
Little play on words there, Jane.
I couldn't help myself.
Linda?
I'm just going to take it straight from the book. Reciprocal is, sorry, what did it say? Reciprocal is not. God, V, you turned it off right at the
Oh,
wrong moment.
sorry.
Revelation is not reciprocal.
Mm.
Ah,
Mm.
good. Mark? A word or a sentence?
Okay. The fact that we are in connection with him, communication with him, and the fact that Jesus is our assistance here is just mind-blowing for me. This quite a few things were just very, very mind-blowing and just loving and makes me feel good. And I can't wait to learn more.
Very good, my friend. This is why I wanted you to come, because
Thank you, Gary.
we all require healing around our relationships with religions. And
Yeah.
Carly?
All I ever want is to be closer to God.
Mhm.
Mm,
Good.
you just stole mine, but I'm going to say the exact same thing. My only desire is to look into the eyes of my beloved and fall infinitely in love for eternity. That's what
Fall in love for eternity. Is that something to hold on to or what?
that's something to hold on to. I don't think I've ever said it quite like that. So the course always kind of gets me inspired. So I want to thank everyone for contributing their energy. Linda, it was so good to see you, and I'm so happy you're in Adelaide. I hope you're hearing me right now. But if you're not, we're speaking it to everybody else, so if they can tell you later. But I want to just give a blessing to everyone. Thank you so much for coming tonight. And we will see you next Tuesday, and we'll tackle that one little paragraph and see if we can't get it understood. So God bless you all, and we'll see you guys later.
Thanks to everybody.
Blessings to all. Be well.
Mhm.
Bye-bye.